Hey guys, Tornado Plays here. Welcome back to another video. Today we'll be ranking the talents of all of the purchasable special cats. These will be like if you go into special cats and you see all those cats that cost cat food, they used to be pretty useless until their talents were added, which buffed them quite a bit. So now we will be ranking how good they are with their talents. So, first we will be doing Beefcake Cat, and let me get its talents. Let me pull it up so I can just read it to you guys. So its first form is Actress Cat, and once it evolves into Mother Cat and then Beefcake Cat, it is basically just Paris Cat, aka Sour Cat, but like a bit nerfed. But his health and damage up talents really help him because then it makes him usable, and otherwise it's not relevant in late game. He also gets Evade Surge, which is pretty useful against Cappy and not Cappy, Cappy Jr., the admin boss, and it actually makes him somewhat useful. And slow resist is completely useless, but all in all, it does get a pretty useful boost, and its DPS goes from about 593 DPS up to about 1000 DPS, which is definitely quite a bit better. And its health goes from 11k to around 20k. This helps him quite a bit because it makes him usable. He also gets strengthened, so that at 33% HP, which should be his last knockback, he gets 50% strengthened, which also helps his DPS quite a bit and makes him pretty useful. So I would rank him at a solid B tier. It's a good cyborg replacement for 4-star stages if you have its talents, otherwise it's quite useless. Okay, Bondage Cat. This is one of the most infamous cats in the game because it used to be useless, like you would never use it, and after its talents it got quite a bit of use because of all the different things you got. Let me pull up its talents. Okay, it's strong against red enemies, immune to war, and has 50% chance to survive a lethal strike, and it has high health, high attack rate, short cooldown. Let's see, talents. Okay, first we have freeze. So 30% chance to freeze for up to 2 seconds. 30% chance to freeze 2 seconds. Dodge 40% to dodge for 1 second. Immune to slow, and then the standard defense and attack buff by 80%. So this talent actually helps it quite a bit because first of all, freeze, being a spammable freezer, it helps him a lot, giving him actually a niche to fill, because before it wouldn't have a niche, it was just kind of like a melee. It has 120 range, so it would just be useless. It couldn't get anything off, but now it actually has quite a bit of use, and it really helps. So with health up and dodge attacks, it becomes nearly invincible against red enemies because of how frequent the dodge will happen due to the high spammability rate of it. And then the good health, good recharge, good talents, and the strength against red that it has from the strong ability makes it super useful. Even though it's slow, it still has quite a bit of use, but I definitely would prefer Rogue Hat. But for 4-star, it is super useful. Just the slow resist is quite useless, and the damage up isn't that great. So since this basically saves the unit, I would say A tier. Boogie Cat. This is most useful in EOC Chapter 3 Moon as a third meat shield. I don't even need to pull up the talents, I just know it. But the biggest one you'll get here is Evade Surge, and that really helps this because it specializes it as a 75% but a surge meat shield, which helps it a lot because it gives it a niche, which it didn't really have before. It just had the 5% to knockback, and that really didn't help at all. It was very situational. Sometimes you could use it against a Cappy, like a lone Cappy. So yeah, that's that. Its talents, it has Surge Immune, but even though it's slow, he can't really prevent Surge attackers from advancing, but he still has quite a bit of use as a third meat shield against them, or a fourth meat shield. But it's actually useful against Aku enemies because they have the death surges, which go super deep into your backline, and it can really hold up your defense. Knockback is known to not be that great because of Misley syndrome. I would personally say it's not that useful because it goes up to 5. It improves the knockback chance from 10 to 15%. But the immune to surge is really what you get here as its main value, and it makes the unit quite useful. Now we have Cats in a Box. Okay, this unit actually is super useful now. Like, you would use it a lot in no gotcha strats, 4-star, and its talents really help out the unit, along with most of the units here. So, alright. Okay. Yeah. We have the talents being... We have their attack up and their massive damage against black enemies. And those two are very useful because then it has high damage along with the massive damage and the weaken that it has already. So it's super useful. And it can be used as a mini Yukimura. And it's usually good against like a main boss with some smaller peons with it. We have massive damage, immune to weaken, resist slow, defensive, attack up. I think that the most useful ones here are attack and defense up, along with massive damage. Immune to weaken is not really that useful, simply because you don't find a lot of black enemies with the weaken ability, but it's also really good supplementary help. I would also put this in A tier, because it makes the unit go from super useless weaken debuffer to a solid unit against black enemies, which can be used as a rusher. Next, we have Dark Laser Cat. Dark Laser is one of the most interesting cats because it has super high DPS but only one knockback, and it's just like very situational but can completely like destroy a stage if needed. It has strong against red and black enemies, and it has super high DPS, fast attack rate, short cooldown, super expensive though, and it's single target. And it has, wait a second, with full attack talents, a level 50 Dark Laser has 28,875 DPS on red and black enemies, which is super useful and can definitely be used as a kamikaze unit with super duper high DPS. And it's super good in 4 crown stages, and I personally got its talents for 4 crown as I'm working through that right now. And it also has its wave attack talent, because a stack of dark lasers and can completely wipe out a stage simply because you can just stack it on like a smaller enemy, and then it's just constantly unleashing super high level waves. And it also has weakened immunity, which is not the most useful because it'll die really quickly with only 11,900 health, probably around 25-30k health against black and red enemies. So we have wave attack, which is a 15% total, but it has a super quick attack rate. It has a level 6 wave. Immune to weaken, cost down, attack and defense buff. I think that all 5 of these talents are very useful investments, especially in 4 crown, and for that I would give it an S tier ranking. Dancer, okay, this is one of the most useful units of the special cats because of its super good use as a high range, semi-stackable attacker. So its talents are, wait a minute. Wait, I accidentally pulled up the enemy, not the cat. Okay, there. We have Surge, which gives you a 20% chance to give a level 1 surge between range 480 to 750. This is to expand its reach into backliner enemies, giving it slim pierce. We have Freeze Immune, Wave Immune, Defense Buff, Attack Buff. I think the most useful ones here are definitely Wave Immune, Attack Buff, and Defense Buff, but Surge is also very useful to just like annihilate backliner enemies. And I think that this is a very good unit with its talents because it really gives it a place in the meta, especially for like floor 30 if you don't have any Ubers with Wave Immune, because Musashi sucks. And I think that its stats become very viable with Attack Up and Defense Up. It's super good for higher crown, like 4 crown SOL and UL, and the Surge gives it like a nice ability to just pierce into backliners and just whittle down their health, kind of like Slime but different. It also has a super high range of 330, which is really good for 4 crown attackers because most of them have super low range. And it also has some really good stats, but the only thing it is that it has 20-second cooldown and a slightly high cost, but it can all be made up by the fact that it's super useful against all of its enemies. I give this A tier. Actually, no, S tier. It makes the unit super viable and usable just in your general loadout. Okay, now we have Mr. This is definitely a weird unit because it's like a little mini kamikaze unit, similar to Brian's, but I personally have almost never used it, apart from its zombie killer in true form, just quickly rush and kill Kamel, which is really, like, low on HP. But if you have Crazed Cowcat, it's still useless, even though it has viable stats. The only issue is that it has, health is, like, none, and the immunities, especially, like, warp immunity, doesn't really work well, and it's not that great against zombies because while it has a little bit under 1k DPS, it only has 140 range, and the zombie killer is not really that useful. Its talents are knockback, 30% chance to knock back zombies, which really only works if you're trying to like stop something from burrowing, like it's not that useful. And then we have freeze immune, warp immune, attack buff, defense buff. I personally think that the only one that's viable here would be freeze immune if you're trying to like rush in a freeze enemy like Henry, but I don't really see the use here. Its stats become okay with talents, but I think that this is a D tier. Like, you don't really need these talents. Ninja Cat. This is another really interesting one because you use it so much in early game and then it falls off so quick whenever you get your Minute Cats. Now let's see talents. Once it gets, let's see. So, it costs 225, which is actually pretty good for a meat shield. It's similar to Jiangxi, but a little bit lower. It has almost no DPS, you'll never be using it for that. 4k health, 150 range, 3 knockbacks, and 2-second recharge, and it has strong against reds. What it also gets is it gets target black, dodge attack, 20% chance to dodge for 2 seconds, and since it's stackable, this is actually really useful against blacks and reds because it can really, you know, like, form a wall and then your meat shields can still exist and you can have your attackers, especially with black enemies because they attack so quickly normally, they can trigger the dodge and the Ninja Cat can just be there no matter, even if it has such low health. So I think that this is a C tier talents because the fact that we have No-No as a collab unit and Merc Story Club just happened, I think, twice in a row. I don't think that it's that useful. And then for red enemies, we still have our Sushi Cats and our Dual Islands. So while it does make this unit usable, it is still very outclassed by others. And I would just say it's better than Dark Cat and maybe its Manic variant, but it's not that great. Okay, now we have Lollycat. And let's see. So it can become a really good anti-metal because it has area attack and slow with its talents. Okay, 30% chance to slow with area attack metal enemies for up to 4 seconds. And weaken immune, resist freeze, attack buff, defense buff. So I personally think that you don't really need the attack or defense buff because its attack and defense is already so low, it's almost unusable. But the fact that it has a really good slow chance along with a pretty good 350 range against metal enemies, which is a lot, I think it becomes one of the best melody buffers, and with its talents, it really gives it like a point to shine because before it doesn't even have a special ability. Like, the fact that you get the slow, it really helps it out. And also with the area attack, I think it becomes a relatively solid unit, so I would have to give it B tier. Pastry Cat, one of the worst cats in the game. Let's see what it got. Okay, starts off with Samurai Cat, becomes Pastry Cat. So, okay, it has 10% chance to slow non-metal enemies with single attack. That's quite useless. Okay, let's see. The guy has 160 range and single attack with only 9k HP, so he's like an insta-death. Even with its talents, it only goes up to like, what, 18k? No. Okay, Barrier Breaker, 20% chance to break barriers. 10% chance to weaken by 50% up to 2 seconds. Resist slow defense and attack buff. I think this is still useless, you know. It can't even survive to use its abilities, and for Barrier Breaker, we have better barrier breakers, and I don't think that's a very useful cat. Yeah, no, that's just not useful at all. Okay. What is this loin cat? Let's get its talons. Loincloth. Yeah, this is it. Okay. Okay, it has 600 DPS, 6,800 health. That goes to about what? 12,000 and okay, 1k DPS, 12k HP with talents, 350 range, 30% chance to break barriers, and the talents up its barrier breaking chance by 20%, which gives it 50% chance to break barriers. And that's what I was saying, that like Pastry is just outclassed by another special cat, because 50% chance to break barriers is actually pretty good if you don't have Ubers, especially with Pixies, and also Board Immune, which helps it against Starred Aliens. And has a 30% chance to weaken aliens to 50% for 4 seconds, which is also somewhat useful. Then, of course, defense and attack buff. So I think this is a good unit, because while it does have single target, it can just break the barriers, your other units can deal the damage and wipe them out. And it's also pretty stackable with only 2.2 seconds of recharge. And I think it's a pretty solid unit, but I don't think its talents helped it that much, because it was already somewhat usable. So I'll only give it C tier, because its talents didn't like redeem the unit like some of these other units. Now we have Sumo Cat. Okay. Rice Ball Cat. So it has 10.2k HP, which will up its health to about 20k, 25k with talents and level 50, and then its attack bar is useless. Its range is 110, and it has 2-second recharge, so it is used as a supplementary meat shield, and it gets immunities, and those immunities help it a little bit as being a meat shield, but I don't think that it really redeems the unit because it's already useful. And the defense and attack buff is the attack buff is completely useless, but I have to give this unit C tier because I don't think it's really that usable, as like its talents don't redeem it. Same thing with Loincloth compared to the other units. Now we have, last but not least, Skeleton Cat. Which is Zombie Cat. We have 1.7k DPS with area attack, 150 range, so that's pretty atrocious damage and survivability, and while it does have 3 knockbacks, it only has 11.9k HP, so it's gonna die super quick, and it's strong against red, strong against zombie, and zombie killer, with 4.5 seconds recharge. It has weaken, so 40% chance to weaken by 50% for up to 4 seconds. There's a slow recover speed up. So 2 seconds, which takes off 2 seconds on its recharge, which gives it 2.5 seconds recharge, and then defense and attack buff. I don't think this helps the unit at all, simply because its range is so low that it's just unusable. And we already have Cadaver Bear Cat against zombies. We already have better melee options against reds and Elemental Duelist and Thor Cat. So I have to give it D tier because it's just purely outclassed and unusable. I wouldn't use it against the other gacha variants, the easy to get gacha variants. Okay, so now for some announcements, I guess. Thank you so much for almost 390 subscribers. It probably is by the time I'm recording this. And just thank you so much for all the support. I know I haven't been uploading. I was on vacation for a little bit, and I was still replying to comments, and I still will be replying to as many comments as possible because that's one of my things. I'll reply to everything. So thank you so much. Keep it up with the support, and hopefully we can get to 400 subscribers by the end of the month. So thank you so much, and I hope you guys have a great day. Bye.